Weekday.
Weekday. Weekend. Weekend.
Are you doing anything nice this weekend?
I never work at the weekend. What are you doing on the weekend?
I only see him at weekends.
Tony has been unwell over the weekend. Tony has been unwell over the weekend.
We're going to Paris for a long weekend.
We're weekending on the coast.
Weekender.
Weekender.
Weekend warrior. Weekend warrior.
Week-long.
Week-long.
A week-long training course.
Weekly. Weekly.
A weekly current affairs program.
Twice weekly flights. The magazine is published weekly.
A popular news weekly.
Weeknight.
Weeknight.
Weenie.
Weenie.
A weenie roast.
Weenie.
Weenie.
Weep.
Weep.
James broke down and wept. She wept for the loss of her mother.
He wept bitterly when it was time for us to leave.
I could have wept thinking what I'd missed.
Weepy.
Weepy.
Weeping.
Weeping.
Weepy.
Weepy.
Weevil.
Weevil.
Wee-wee.
Wee-wee.
Weft.
Weft.
Way.
Weigh.
The young birds weigh only a few grams. Do you know how much it weighs?
What do you weigh? The box was full of books and weighed a ton.
He weighed some potatoes on the scales. Have you weighed yourself lately? It is my job to weigh the evidence.
We have to weigh the benefits of the scheme against the costs.
This unfortunate experience will weigh heavily against further investment in the area.
These facts will weigh in your favour.
Her evidence weighed strongly with the judge.
He was weighing his words carefully. He was weighing his words carefully.
Sally was weighed down with shopping bags.
He felt weighed down by his responsibilities.
A family weighed down with grief.
Higgins weighed in at just over 100 kilos.
The chairman then weighed in with his views.
The desire for peace will weigh heavily on the negotiators.
I'm sure there's something weighing on his mind. The burden of responsibility weighed heavily on his shoulders.
She weighed out 1/2 kilo of rice.
We're still weighing up the pros and cons of the two options. I could see that he was weighing me up.
Weighbridge.
Weighbridge.
Weigh-in.
Weigh-in. Weight. Weight.
The average weight of a baby at birth is just over 7 pounds. Fish that are over 2 kilos in weight.
Fruit and vegetables are sold by weight.
You shouldn't worry about your weight.
The weight of her boots made it hard for Sue to run.
I didn't know if the bridge would support our weight.
Karen staggered along under the weight of her backpack.
I can't lift heavy weights because of my bad back.
She felt a great weight of responsibility.
Families who are crumbling under the weight of increasing debt.
Selling the house is a weight off my mind.
She knew that her opinion carried very little weight.
This scandal adds more weight to their arguments.
The weight of evidence is that unemployment leads to all sorts of health problems.
The weight of public opinion is behind the teachers. They won the battle by sheer weight of numbers.
I've been lifting weights since I was 18.
The U.S. has thrown its weight behind the new leader.
He accused me of not pulling my weight. Come in. Take the weight off your feet.
The fishing nets are weighted down with lead.
A temptation to weight the report in favour of the option you want.
Weighted.
Weighted.
The voting system is weighed against the smaller parties.
This year's pay increase is heavily weighted in favour of the lower paid staff.
The course is weighted towards language skills.
Waiting.
Waiting.
Salary £24,000 plus £2,400 London waiting.
Weightless.
Weightless.
Weightlifting.
Weightlifting.
Weight training.
Weight training.
He does weight training at the gym twice a week.
Weighty.
Weighty.
She didn't feel like discussing weighty matters.
A weighty tome. Weir.
Weir.
Weird.
Weird.
A really weird thing happened last night.
He's a weird bloke.
They sell all sorts of weird and wonderful products.
A weirdly shaped rock.
Weirdo.
Weirdo.
Jenny's going out with a real weirdo.
Welsh.
Welch.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome to London. Welcome back. It's good to see you again.
Hello, welcome home.
Thanks for the coffee. You're welcome.
I had the feeling I wasn't really welcome.
I didn't feel welcome in the club.
Mary made us very welcome.
We try to make the new students feel welcome.
The weekend was a welcome break from the pressures of work.
6 months in Scotland would make a welcome change from London.
A cup of tea would be very welcome.
The increase in interest rates is welcome news for investors. This new funding will come as a welcome boost for the industry.
If you want to take the job, you're welcome to it.
You're welcome to stay for lunch.
I must be there to welcome my guests.
They welcomed us warmly.
His family welcomed me with open arms.
The college welcomes applications from people of all races.
We would welcome any advice or suggestions with open arms.
Economists have welcomed the decision to raise interest rates.
His colleagues gave him a very warm welcome when he returned to work.
You can be sure of a friendly welcome at all our hotels.
The President got a tremendous welcome at the airport.
Politicians have given an enthusiastic welcome to the Queen's speech.
The proposals have so far received a cautious welcome from government ministers.
Welcome wagon.
Welcome wagon.
The company is bringing out the welcome wagon for the new sales recruits.
Welcoming.
Welcoming.
Everyone was very welcoming.
Stephanie was standing at the door with a welcoming smile.
A restaurant with a welcoming atmosphere.
I was met by a welcoming committee.
A welcoming speech.
Weld. Weld.
The new handle will have to be welded on. His job is now to weld the players into a single team.
Welder.
Welder.
Welfare.
Welfare.
Our only concern is the children's welfare.
The provision of education and welfare services.
The company's welfare officer deals with employees' personal problems.
Most of the people in this neighborhood are on welfare.
Welfare state.
Welfare state.
Well.
Well.
Did you sleep well?
James reads quite well for his age.
All the team played very well today.
Simon doesn't work well under pressure.
The festival was very well organised.
The concert went very well.
Mix the flour and butter well.
I know Birmingham quite well.
Stand well back from the bonfire. It was well after 12 o'clock when they arrived. The village is well below sea level.
The amphitheatre is well worth a visit.
I'm well aware of the problems involved. I went out and got well and truly drunk. That was well funny.
He's doing very well at college. Elizabeth's done well for herself since she moved to London.
He had the operation yesterday, and he's doing very well.
Why don't you come along as well?
They own a house in France as well as a villa in Spain.
The organization gives help and support to people in need, as well as raising money for local charities.
What you say may well be true.
You could try the drugstore, but it might well be closed by now.
I suppose we may as well get started.
The taxi was so slow we might just as well have gone on the bus.
I can't very well tell him we don't want him at the party.
You know full well what I mean.
Sue has always spoken well of you.
If we can get that grant from the local authority, we'll be well away.
She's very well in with members of the management committee.
Jeff's always been well up on the internet.
Marilyn looked guilty, as well she might.
Well, I think it's a good idea anyway.
Well, I've had enough and I'm going home.
James doesn't want to come to the cinema with us. Well then, let's go on our own.
Well, let's see now. I could meet you on Thursday.
Well, I did my best. I can't do any more than that.
Oh well, we'll just have to cancel the holiday, I suppose.
Well, so Steve got the job?
Well, I didn't think I'd see you here.
Well, she could at least have phoned to say she wasn't coming.
Well, that's all for today.
Well, that's the last one done.
Will you be in on Friday evening? Well, it depends.
He's rolling in money. Well, he's got a lot more than me anyway.
Very well, he said. I accept. You know that couple I was telling you about the other day? Well, last night I saw a police car in front of their house.
Well, what have you got to say for yourself? How are you? Very well, thanks.
I don't feel very well. You're looking very well.
I hope you get well again soon.
It's just as well I kept some money aside for emergencies.
It's all very well the doctor's telling me I've got to rest, but he's going to look after my children.
Going off on foreign holidays is all well and good, but you've got to get back to reality sometime.
It might be as well to make him rest for a few days.
All is not well with their marriage.
She lowered her bucket into the well.
I felt tears well up in my eyes.
Anger welled up within him.
Wheel.
Wheel.
Well adjusted.
Well adjusted.
A happy, well-adjusted child.
Well advised.
Well advised.
You would be well advised to accept his offer.
Well appointed.
Well appointed.
He showed me to a large, well-appointed room.
Well attended.
Well attended.
Well balanced.
Well balanced.
Well behaved.
Well behaved.
A well-behaved child.
A very well-behaved dog. The crowd was well-behaved.
Well-being.
Well-being.
We are responsible for the care and well-being of all our patients.
A good meal promotes a feeling of well-being.
The physical and emotional well-being of the children.
We are now concerned for the economic well-being of the country.
Well-born.
Well-born.
Well-bred.
Well-bred.
A well-bred, courteous man.
Well-bred.
Well brought up.
Well brought up.
Well built.
Well built.
Well chosen.
Well chosen.
Good food and well-chosen wines.
He encouraged us with a few well-chosen words.
Well connected.
Well connected.
Well defined.
Well defined.
Well-defined limits on spending.
Well deserved.
Well deserved.
A well-deserved victory.
Well developed.
Well developed. Well developed back muscles.
Well-developed reading skills.
Well disposed.
Well disposed.
I did not feel particularly well disposed towards him.
Well documented.
Well documented.
His life is remarkably well documented.
These are all well-documented facts.
Well done.
Well done.
Well drained.
Well drained. Well dressed.
Well-dressed.
An attractive, well-dressed young woman.
Well-earned.
Well-earned.
A well-earned rest. A well-earned drink.
Well-educated.
Well-educated.
Well-endowed.
Well-endowed.
Well-established.
Well-established.
A well-established law firm. A well-established scientific theory.
Well-fed.
Well-fed.
The animals all look happy and well-fed.
Well-founded.
Well-founded.
My suspicions proved to be well-founded.
Well-groomed.
Well-groomed.
Well-grounded.
Well-grounded.
The soldiers were well grounded in survival skills.
My fears were well-grounded.
Well-heeled.
Well-heeled.
A well-heeled businessman.
Well-hung.
Well-hung.
Welly.
Welly. You need to give it some welly.
Wellington.
Well-informed.
Well-informed.
Most people are not very well informed about the disease. We had a serious and well-informed debate.
Wellington.
Wellington.
Well-intentioned.
Well-intentioned.
Well-intentioned grandparents who interfere between parents and children.
Well-kept.
Well-kept.
Well-known.
Well-known.
It's a well-known fact that smoking can cause lung cancer.
This is probably their best-known song. A well-known TV presenter.
He was well known for his extreme political views.
Well-mannered.
Well-mannered.
A well-mannered child.
Well-meaning.
Well-meaning.
A lot of problems can be caused by well-meaning friends.
He's very well-meaning, but he doesn't really understand what's going on. Well-meant.
Well-meant.
His comments were well-meant, but a little tactless.
Wellness.
Wellness.
The college has established a wellness program for its students.
Well-nigh.
Well-nigh.
It would be well nigh impossible to raise that amount of money.
Well-off.
Well-off.
Children from well-off families.
Many pensioners are less well-off than they used to be. We're well off for public transport here.
Well-oiled.
Well-oiled.
Well-paid.
Well-paid.
A well-paid job.
Well-paid executives.
Well-preserved.
Well-preserved.
The remarkably well-preserved ruins of the church. Well-read.
Well-read.
Well-run.
Well-run.
A small, well-run hotel.
Well-spoken.
Well-spoken.
Wellspring.
Wellspring.
There was a wellspring of courage within her.
Las Vegas became the wellspring of a new style of family values.
Well-stocked.
Well-stocked.
A well-stocked supermarket.
Well thought of.
Well thought of.
Her work is well thought of in academic circles.
Well thought out.
Well thought out.
A well-thought-out design.
All the menus are well thought out.
Well thumbed.
Well thumbed.
Well-timed.
Well timed.
A well-timed remark. My arrival wasn't very well timed.
Well-to-do.
Well to do.
Well-to-do families.
Well tried.
Well tried.
A well-tried formula for success.
Well-trodden.
Well trodden.
Follow the very well-trodden path to the summit.
Andrew was on his well-trodden path to conquering another willing lady.
Well turned.
Well turned.
Well-turned out.
Well turned out.
Our customers want to be served by people who are well turned out.
Well-versed.
Well versed.
Countries not so well versed in technological advances as our own.
Well-wisher.
Well wisher.
The prince waved at the crowd of 600 well-wishers.
Well-woman.
Well woman.
A well-woman clinic.
Well worn.
Well worn.
A well-worn jacket.
Well-worn excuses.
Welly.
Welly.
Welsh.
Welsh.
I never welch on my bets. Welsh dresser.
Welsh dresser.
Welsh rarebit.
Welsh rarebit.
Welt.
Welt.
Welter.
Welter.
There is a welter of information on the subject.
Welterweight.
Welterweight.
Wembley.
Wembley. Wench.
Wench.
Wend.
Wend.
The procession wended its way through the streets.
Wendy house.
Wendy house.
Went.
Went.
Wept.
Wept.
Were.
Were.
We're.
We're.
Werewolf.
Werewolf.
Word.
Wort.
West.
West.
The industrial countries of the West. A damp wind blew from the west.
A village to the west of Brussels.
There's a slight chance of some sunshine in the west.
The west of the island.
The west door of the church. Farmers in West Africa. The route then heads west over Gerrick Moor.
The walk starts at Alnham, 6 miles west of Bridge of Aln.
A west-facing window.
The family moved out west to Kansas.
Westbound.
Westbound.
Westbound traffic is moving very slowly.
An accident on the westbound carriageway of the motorway.
West coast.
West coast.
West country.
West country.
West end.
West end.
Westerly.
Westerly.
We set off in a westerly direction.
Western.
Western.
The western end of the bay.
Western Australia.
Western philosophies.
Westerner.
Westerner.
Westernize.
Westernize.
Tunisian culture has been westernized.
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 Westernized economies. Western medicine.
Western medicine.
Westernmost.
Westernmost.
The westernmost tip of the island.
Westminster.
Westminster.
Westminster was buzzing with anticipation today as MPs gathered for tonight's crucial vote.
Westward.
Westward.
The ship turned westward, away from the coast.
Westward flights. Wet. Wet.
I've washed your shirt, but it's still wet.
Wet grass.
Take an umbrella or you'll get wet.
His face was wet with sweat. The man in the boat was wet through.
The towel was soaking wet.
There's more wet weather on the way.
It's very wet outside.
The wettest summer on record.
The paint's still wet.
Don't be so wet. Just tell them you don't want to go.
Wet your hair and apply the shampoo.
I nearly wet myself, I was so scared.
Sam's wet his bed again.
The path is steep and dangerous in the wet.
Tory wets.
Go on. Don't be such a wet.
Wetback.
Wetback.
Wet bar.
Wet bar.
Wet blanket.
Wet blanket.
Wet dream.
Wet dream.
Wet fish.
Wet fish.
Wetland.
Wetland.
Wet look.
Wet look.
Wet nurse.
Wet nurse.
Wet nurse.
Wet nurse.
Wetsuit.
Wetsuit.
Wetting agent.
Wetting agent.
Wetting solution.
Wetting solution.
Weave.
Weave.
Whack.
Whack.
He kept whacking the dog with a stick.
Just whack the bacon under the grill for a couple of minutes.
She gave the ball a whack.
Singleton took a whack at Miller's head.
If you're unemployed, you don't have to pay the full whack.
There's still a fair whack of work to be done. These agencies charge top whack for tickets.
I've done my whack of the driving. It's your turn.
Are you any good at doing maths? I'll have a whack at it.
Steve lost $500 in one whack. The printer's out of whack again.
Whacked.
Whacked.
You look absolutely whacked.
Everyone was running around naked. It was totally whacked.
Whacking.
Whacking.
A whacking great gas bill.
Wacko.
Wacko.
Wacky.
Wacky.
Whack. Whacked.
Whacking.
Wacko. Wacky.